Welcome to the Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brand, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business. Well, today we had the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Nikki Estephan.
Oh my God.
What
a firecracker of a person.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
She's one of those people. I've had the pleasure of knowing her for, almost 3 years now. And she's one of those people I just feel she's like gas in my tank. I just feel more full.
She strikes me as the type, and I felt this personally, but I just even mean this with strangers, the type that has a very quick connection with people.
Yeah.
She is so likable and so relatable.
Yeah.
Authentic on that human level. Not just as a business owner, but beyond into into her whole being.
Yeah.
But what I really loved about our conversation with her was the way she talks about showing up for your business.
Yeah.
Again, your authentic self as you are today.
Yeah.
Being you, and that's what you bring to the table as a business owner.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and being your authentic self, how your authentic self isn't always pretty. Everybody's got baggage. Everybody's got stuff that's made them who they are today. It's how you show up as your best version. And your best version is still gonna fail.
And it's still a work in progress.
That's the beauty of it, is that it's all this kind of forward momentum. And we talked about kind of the idea of just what it takes to put effort into your day-to-day. We talked about that. We go back and forth. I think it was a really great conversation about how giving can kind of transcend walls and barriers and just
what you put out kind of come back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily in a tangible, gifty sort of way.
Yeah.
It's in the relationships that you're building and that sort of give and take, especially as a business owner, especially in a business community, which was a really great part that we talked about with her and building up of each other.
Right. It was much less cause and effect. What's my ROI? If I do this, then I get this. It was like, if I just be and fire on all these cylinders,
what does it attract?
How does that then permeate in the universe? Not how will I get something out of that?
Right.
What will show up from that? She brought up that great example of the two people who started working together.
Yep.
It's like just her being her led to that. It's forward momentum that she really talked about.
And I cannot wait for the listener to hear it. So without further ado, this is Nikki Estephan.
Nikki, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So these outfits, I feel like the listener can't see how incredible this is, but the viewer, this is where checking this out on Instagram, this is where it is. If there's one thing everybody knows about Nikki, it is neutrals.
Yep.
Neutral Nikki.
And Melissa and I both understood the assignment.
Well, I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Melissa texted me at 6:30 and was like, "We're talking to Nikki first."
I said it's Nikki first, right?
Yeah.
He said,
yes.
So I knew.
And
he knew that was about the outfit.
My thing. I'm like, no more bright blues, no more patterns. So I just went all neutrals for you. And I thought that this was really cool. So this shacket is actually from American Woolen, where we did a branding shoot. You were there.
Yes, it was
for
epic.
Yeah, I mean, out of my entire life, that day would be top 5 most iconic in my life. And I asked you to be there to help shoot that. And it's still, I look at those pictures every day
Aw.
in some way, just
Yep.
to like stay inspired. So that's this jacket, man. I was very happy to wear it with you, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm loving the outfits.
Thank you.
Up to the neutral hat.
Yes. Oh my
We
God. I
appreciate
know,
it.
right?
Yep. All
Yeah.
the way. All the way.
What are you wearing?
Now, what am I wearing? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I wanted to share about today was my Alice and Olivia shirt, which was a turtleneck. But
Really?
with my yep, it was a turtleneck, and it was one of those things where like I bought it because I actually liked the puff sleeve. This
yeah.
is a white knit. I like the sleeve volume, but as I was wearing it, I'm like, I don't know about you, Nikki, but like a white turtleneck up near my chin with my makeup, I every time I'm like, I feel like claustrophobic in my own clothing. But I really liked the shirt, and I was really ticked, and I'm like, am I going to really donate this cool shirt for this turtleneck thing? So I pulled the thing all the way down to kind of make it crew neck, and I used my sewing machine and I stitched it short. So now it's just a little crew neck, and I was very proud of my little jobber here. So it definitely kept the shirt in
You've
rotation.
worn that a couple times. I've never heard that story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's my story.
That's awesome.
I love
So-
that.
But what I want to ask you about actually is you were saying that you were really before we started recording, you were talking about investment pieces for your wardrobe.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the pants that you're wearing. So I want to know about your pants. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are actually from Banana Republic. I love Banana Republic, but they're vegan leather and they're lined like with this super soft suede inside, and they have pockets. So these are
It's always about the pockets.
It is. I'm a pocket, and it's high rise. I need a
Yeah.
high rise
Yes.
pants,
Yep.
pocket, neutral.
Yeah.
And I just love them because they're comfy. I feel like I can sit crisscross, but
Yep.
I also look put together when I'm working. So it's
I
fun.
made a comment one time on a fellow seamstress's post. She was posting about like jeans and
Yep.
low rise and mid rise, whatever. And I said, you can pry my high waisted mom jeans off my cold dead carcass.
Yeah.
And that her video went viral, but my comment on that
Yeah.
went like absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
All
I was
these
gonna
people were
say,
like.
The biggest high-rise
High-rise.
warrior is sitting right
Oh
here.
no! I my husband laughs at me sometimes. He's like, do
Period.
they need to be that?
I mean, they
high?
don't need
And
to be
I'm
that
like,
high.
They don't, but they do.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah.
up high. I love
Yeah.
it.
It's high rise for
Pantaloons.
life. I'm
For
sorry.
years,
I'm
forever
sorry.
and ever. I'm
Period.
an old lady at heart.
Yeah, so we were talking about investment pieces, and I think it's very important for people to understand that luxury clothing doesn't just start and end. It's like, now that it's this expensive, it's just a uber big price. They're investment pieces, as you called it. It's something that you're going to, yes, it's more money up front, but it's going to pay dividends down the run. Like, you're going to wear those for years.
Cost per wear.
Yeah,
right? Like they
cost
used to
per
talk
wear is
about.
That's the
perfect way-
biggest thing.
Yeah.
I remember
So
I
important.
must have had 7 or 8 pairs of express denim, and I would get two years max.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Before like they were still structurally there.
Okay.
But
the integrity of all of
fading
it,
and
yeah.
the belt would curl and things would rip, and I was just like, oh my God. But they were like $80, and it was like,
Yeah.
all right, okay, like I'm spending $80 and $80 and $80 and $80 and $80. And then I got these jeans. These are from Imogene and Willie, and they were $325.
Okay.
And I'm like, I got these 4 years ago. You'd think
They
I
still
got them last
for
week.
yeah.
You know, every time I put them on, it's like they're brand new.
Yeah.
I will have these for 10, 15 years if
Yep.
I treat them
Yeah.
right, and I do. And it's so they're made in Nashville. My sister's actually down in Nashville right now, and I was like, "You got to go
Nice.
check out this store." I have
Yeah.
like
Oh, cool.
all my jeans are from them, and I have a bunch of this shirt's actually from them also. And I was like, "You got to go check them out." I'm all about it. It's so
Nice.
cool. They're just the coolest people. But enough about our outfits.
Yeah.
we got
Clothes are cool and stuff,
Yeah,
but
we got
we're here to talk about you.
way more important things
fun.
to talk about. yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah, Nikki's like, oh, please. Go.
Like sweating. Keep going.
Yeah. So I like Nikki. So there's so much to talk about with you, but something I want to start with is that in 2022 we did that Cape Cod shoot.
Oh yeah.
That
Was that 2 years ago? Yep.
yeah. Was that only 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That seems like
I don't
yesterday.
know what time
and
is anymore.
forever
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the first time I ever did a styled shoot.
Yep.
That
was.
was the first time I really worked with people in the industry. I met Shannon. I
Yeah.
met you. I met Ashley.
Yep.
Well, I'd met Ashley from Gilded Gals once or twice before.
Yeah.
Justin.
Yep.
Katie and I had been friends forever. Katie Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you and I were Instagram friends.
Yep.
And I was definitely like starstruck when you walked in. And Katie was like, yeah, Nikki's on her way. I was like,
The Nikki.
what? I was like, what is she getting, like, helicoptered in?
More sweat. More sweat.
But I was like,
No pressure.
It was so wild to just be like, oh my God, you're here. And you had a big footprint at the time. A lot of us were just getting kind of started. And Instagram changed a lot in 2021, 2022. So it was way more about a personal brand kind of look. And I had no idea what a branding photographer was. And
Now, were you on that shoot as the lead photographer?
No. So one thing that I did when it came to styled shoots with the wedding vendors, right? It was something that I had the privilege of doing a lot of in 2022, 2023. This year, not so much because there was some confusion about my brand, which is something I can touch on in a second, but it was really incredible for me to get to work alongside these wedding vendors, and I was there to capture them and their brand. And so get the
really
behind
cool.
the scenes of what does Matt do?
photographer of the
You know,
photographers,
And so like, okay, here's Shannon. She's an incredible wedding photographer. Here's her work. But what does it look like to work with her at a wedding? Like, how is she going to make you feel? Because at the end of the day, our brand is important, but it's how we leave our clients. Like, how do they feel when they walk away from us? And so it was really important. I saw during COVID, when I was working with these bigger, larger brands on collaborative, quote unquote, influencer like content, what they wanted the final product. And I was like, okay, I can do that. But then what always tripped me up at the beginning was like, they wanted all the stuff of how I did it. And I'm like, you want to see me set up my room and how I'm styling this rug with my dogs running all over and my kids? And they're like, yes. And I was like, okay, can I just ask why? Like, I was just curious on that first call. And I was like, because I'll do it, but like, what is it? And they're like, because people love how your room looks, but people are going to buy from the mom who's setting up her home. And I was like, okay. And so
Smart.
I was gifted this like free education by working with these people, and I soaked it in. I was like, okay, this is what Target wants, gonna do it. Oh, this is what Abercrombie likes, I'm gonna do it. Like these bigger brands who are very successful. And then I started to take it into like, how can I do this for my business, right? And how can I do this for others? And so when COVID started to dissipate and we were allowed to all hang out together again, it was like, I want to do what I've been doing for these bigger companies, but for these smaller businesses. And so my brand started to evolve into that. And so I went to this styled shoot to do that, to capture, Matt doing his thing with the clients, to capture,
Excuse me.
Who was working on the dress, who was working as the photographer, the stationery, like all the details, capture Ashley, who's like
really cool.
organizing the whole thing. Because a planner doesn't always get like the content. So it was really cool to see that trickle. And to be honest with you, when I was doing that, there wasn't content creators yet. There really weren't. There were content creators in the sense of influencing, right?
They get a product.
They got a
do the
product. They videotape it and they post it, but you weren't seeing, there wasn't wedding content creators in Connecticut yet. There wasn't. And so I started getting asked, do you want to do weddings? And I was like, I love my wedding vendor friends, but no, I don't want to do, I've never shot a wedding. I'm not a wedding photographer. I don't want to be a wedding photographer. But I love the vendors who are there. And so it was really cool to see like wedding content creators kind of come into play through that year. And now there's a whole industry for it. But capturing behind the scenes is crucial when it comes to a small business.
I want to ask, I want to go like backwards from that point that you started talking about with COVID, with the big box brands and all that stuff. How did you get there? Like, where did you start? What led you to get to that point? And then to be able to have that autonomy to shift into what you really wanted to do?
So if truly backtracks to when I had my daughter, I was 21, and I was waitressing at the same place that I waitressed in high school, which shout out to Dino's. I love them. They were the best pizza restaurant. They're right down the street. He's still there. By far the best buffalo chicken pizza in the world.
Amazing.
But I
waitressed
you're
from here.
Oh yeah, I grew up right down the road.
Yeah,
right
so
down the
when you're
road from
talking
here.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I grew up in
I didn't know
Killingworth.
that.
HK graduate
Oh my
in 2007.
God.
So I've stayed close to home my whole
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking about working with
The
these big
listener,
brands.
I live in Haddam,
Right?
which is Haddam. HK is Haddam Killingworth.
Yeah.
She's from Killingworth. This is crazy. Mind blown.
Yeah,
Amazing.
my whole life.
Right. So, like, I think people would have the misunderstanding that you got this huge shot in New York and we're like working with Target.
No,
whatever. No, you're just crushing it here.
Yeah, I grew up in Connecticut, lived in Connecticut my whole life, minus 2 years when I moved to Miami right after high school, and then moved back with my husband and my daughter. So, like, had my quick stint away to, I don't want to be in Connecticut, small town Killingworth girl anymore. I want to see the big world.
Yeah.
I did not want to see the big world. I am definitely a small town girl. I am a small town girl. I was like, too big for me. And came back here, but I had my daughter, and I didn't want to work during the week. I refused to put her in daycare, and at 21, only having a high school degree, I didn't really have a leg to stand on. And so I waitressed, and they took me back, and I waitressed there for years. But while I was waitressing there, my husband had bought a camera from me from Nordstrom parking lot at West Farms from someone else. Super shady situation. That was my first camera. I was too afraid to go, so he went for me. And I just started taking photos of her like crazy, and then photos of my friends and photos of my friends' kids. And one time I was, taking photos outside, and this woman asked me, can you take photos of my daughter? And I was like, sure. How much do you charge? $25 sold. Like, that was my first paid shoot, was $25. And I think I shot for 2 hours. And it was amazing. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start a business. So I'm going to be Nicole Lee's Photography. And I just launched it that day and started posting. And 5 years go by, and I was doing motherhood photography, had a second kid, and I loved it, but I wasn't making a lot of money. And I knew at that point for our family, we now had 2 kids. My husband was working 2 jobs. I needed to make more money, and waitressing and the few shoots weren't enough. And so
how long from
5
shady
years.
camera?
That was 5 years.
Wow.
So
shady camera buying to having your own business.
Having my own business was a 5 year of just like random things.
Yep. Piecemealing it together.
Piecemealing it. Happy with this.
How we moms do it.
I did it.
Listen.
And then both my kids finally went to school. And I was like, I don't need to worry about daycare. I could work during the week. And so I was very lucky. One of my good friends was an influencer. Her name was Lindsay. She had a business, Lindsay & Co. She had like 150,000 followers at the time. And I was like, she wanted to have someone come and work 20 hours a week to take photos and videos of her and help her with blogs and all that stuff. And I was like, sign me up.
So you were watching her do the behind the scenes stuff for her own business.
I started
really cool.
helping her, and I was like her assistant for all of this stuff. And I did that for 2 years. And for 2 years, I kept doing my photography, but I worked with her and I learned everything. And she was so gracious to me to help me and like share my stuff on her platform. And then when COVID came, she decided she no longer wanted to be an influencer and closed her account. And I was like, wow, oof, like, now what do I do?
Did you like,
I was scared. I was definitely scared.
Holy crap.
I think everyone was scared when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think anyone was.
Yeah, you were fine.
You were fine.
I was having a nervous breakdown in my kitchen, like crying in my husband's arms.
How
like,
am I going to make money?
It was so fucking. That's when I started bars. Was
I know you did the op. We were like having a panic attack, and you're like,
June 2020. I
insane.
quit my job, and I literally. So what? Quarantine was March to May, and I left in 2 weeks after we went back.
Wow.
I quit and started bars right after that. So I was back to work for 2 weeks,
and then
started a company.
Yep.
And
but what a moment of clarity. Like, we talk about that a lot with COVID. Like,
that's
so
the
much.
thing.
It was. It was like, for me, I was like, I am grateful. I am grateful for everything she taught me. I'm grateful for everything I learned. I'm grateful that I have this opportunity, but I want to do something on my own and I want to pass something on to my kids.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was when COVID lifted and everything that I said, I'm going 150%. My kids are both in school full time. I didn't have that before. I have no choice, but I've learned all these things. And so I just started doing my own thing, right?
Yeah. And your kids are how old at this time?
My daughter's at that time.
Yeah.
My daughter Gray was 6. And so that Mads was 10. So 6 and 10, and now they're 10 and 14. So, you know, it's crazy. But that was when I was like, all right, I'm going to do Nikki Estephan. Like, I'm not going to be Nicole Elise this, not something photography. I am Nikki Estephan. I'm going to be the brand. I want to help other brands grow. I want to do behind the scenes. I want to do branding photos. And so I just ran with it. And I went to every networking event I could go to, did every speaking event I could go to. And that year was just a year of growth. Like, who needs branding photos? That was we're in 2024, 23, 22, 2021, 2022 area. That was right around when I met you.
What?
So that year was when I was like full-fledged branding photography. No more family, no more motherhood, which was a huge risk. Like, because
Stepping
I knew
into
what
the
I could
unknown.
make. And I was like, I don't want to work nights and weekends anymore. And that was a big
that's
thing
hard
for me.
to be
where
with
like,
your audience. With your customer.
but it worked. Like, I'm like, it's crazy to think like now sitting here today, you know, last year I was able to get a studio, something I didn't think, and I'm able to offer it to other people, but it's also, you know, my space that I can rent whenever I want. And I have my mom who joined my team last year who did all my back end stuff, which was really cool because I love working with businesses. I know how to like show up for your business, but when it comes to like the numbers and the finances, I am not that person. And so it's been really nice to be able to hire her and have her do that. And, you know, it's the end of the year, but my sister, who's a videographer in Boston, is going to start joining my team as well to do content creation and videography, which is something that I need, right? And I want to offer
the way you're growing.
my clients, but I can only do so much.
You can't do everything.
I can't do everything, you know? And I am a fantastic branding photographer, but I am not the best videographer. And so if I can bring someone else who is really great at that it's only going to bring the experience up for my clients. So
one thing I wanted to ask. So, I wanted to note this and then ask. So these 3 words we bring up all the time. I learned these 3 words from you.
Oh, goodness.
At that Cape Cod shoot. Community over competition.
Oh, yeah.
That's my
I've
favorite.
never heard that before you.
Really?
You had us do that reel where we were all sitting down at the table.
Yep.
And I was like, what a fucking genius. Like, this is the greatest combination of words in the human language. And I know you didn't make it up, but it was like, that first time I heard
And the
first time I was introduced to it was at a place where I was becoming a part of a community.
Yep.
And I was a perfect example was, so I get asked to do style shoots all the time. I have no clothing. I have no inventory.
Yeah.
So I get my clothing from other men's stores.
Yep.
I was there with clothing from JT Gamo.
Yep. I remember that.
And like, what more of a personification of community over competition. I'm like there with, I'm like, here, check out this other men's store.
Gave you their lent you their clothing to go be shot. And you are the caretaker of those garments.
What trust on both of our parts.
I was just going to say trust on both ends. Though.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. And then just since that, it has just been a bonfire in my soul of just community over competition, just pushing people forward. We talk about it. I think every single episode we try to work it in.
Pretty much.
Because it's one of those things that so many people have lost on them, right? Like I noticed a lot at the beginning, like there's the noise around the conversations around me. They're so toxic. They're so debilitating on both ends. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that because I truly have witnessed that when people stand and if someone's on the staircase above and their hands reach down for the person below them and someone's like, we're all walking up together. Like I literally have that in my, how beautiful is that versus just watching one person walk up? Like, ew. That's, and I think part of it is I grew up with 5 younger sisters, right? I'm the oldest of 6 girls. And so, you know, girls, there's insecurities. There's a lot of, it's difficult, you know, and there's a lot of seasons, whether it was our, you know, teen years or young adult years. And I watched like the crippling of how other words hurt us, or not having other people, you know, include us or back us up or support us. And it's like, I refuse to be one of those people because like we get it as humans, we get the opportunity to leave people feeling better than when they came to us. And that's a gift. And like, think about any of our relationships, like those people who make you feel better afterwards, who make you feel seen, who make you gravitate towards them. You want, so why not be one of those people, you know? And I love the saying, like, what's meant for you will find you. Like, if there's two brand photographers, right? And we're both walking this, they have something that I don't have. They offer something that I don't offer. And my dream clients are going to find me, and together we're going to make magic. And their dream clients are going to find them, and together they're going to make magic.
And there's enough for everybody.
There's a plethora. That's the thing.
I think as you grow into deeper, mature adulthood, we all start to realize that even if you are like a jerk and you're cutthroat, like there really is enough for everybody.
And there's so much beauty in being like, hey, I'm not the best person for you for this, but I know someone who will.
Yeah.
And what's that going to take away from you? That doesn't take anything away
anyway.
Because that was, guarantee you, that client and you're going to feel it. Like you can feel when you're not supposed to be working on something, when it's not your ideal client, both ways. Yeah. So like, don't stress about that.
I had someone call me one time. We did not take care of her. She was not our client, but she had called and asked about a recommendation actually for undergarments. And we recommended a local shop. And she called me back, and I missed the call, but she called me back just to tell me how awesome her experience was at the shop, and that it was the greatest thing, and she couldn't thank us enough for recommending this other shop so she could have undergarments that she felt great in to go get her fittings done with someone else, I think, that we had recommended because we didn't have space for her. So like, we weren't going to help her anyway. Like we couldn't take care of her as a customer, but the fact that she felt so compelled as to call and leave me like 2 minutes of a voicemail to say thank you was like, oh my God. Like
it's all part of their experience.
It was very cool.
You know, and like that's so nice that on their wedding day, they'll be like, you know, this random shop helped me. They couldn't help me, but they did.
And you don't know the
community.
trickle effect though, right? Like community, there's so much that goes into it. It's like inspiring other people. That's a piece of it, right? Like you don't know who's watching you. I love that. Like sometimes people are like, oh, there's no point in me showing up. Like, you know, I only have 5 followers. And it's like,
God.
Can you picture?
Don't even
I know. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
Every podcast episode, this guy
is so important to me. And I say that all the time. Like, you need to remember, like having the connection with just one person, that's huge. 5, massive. Like, I think we forget so much about the ripple effect. And so that's something too that like when you have these intimate shoots, or you have the, you know, when we did that styled shoot, like there's 10 vendors that day that are all working collectively. One person doesn't give 100%. Everyone fails. You know what I mean? It looks bad on everyone. So everyone's coming together to give the best experience that they can. You know?
No, definitely. Oh my God, I have 2 big questions.
Which one's first?
Hurry up. I have questions too.
I know. All right. So I want to back up though. Okay. Yeah. I'll ask this question. You mentioned you're the oldest of 5 girls.
Oldest of 6. Yeah.
Oldest. You're the 6th.
Yep. I was the first.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah. So
firstborn children.
I want to dive deeper into this brand image.
Okay.
But also self-image. You're talking about women being vulnerable, women being attacked. When did this self-confidence, when did this self-understanding, and that's a foreshadowing to a question I'll ask later, because it's something we've talked about many times. But where does this start to permeate? Where does this start to come up? Where does I remember for me, when I identified like, oh, there's me and then there's myself. There's this self-image thing. It's a real thing. It's a noun that I can give attributes to. Where did that kind of show up for you? Are you the way you are with your clients? Are you that way with your sisters? Like, how does that all kind of show up in your life?
So I think there's a few dynamics for it, right? So I think part of it is I really struggled when I was younger. Really, my father was arrested when I was 8 years old, and that crippled me as a little girl. It was very difficult, him leaving, and I felt very worthless. Like I didn't know who I was. And then, I had one sister, biological sister from that share. We have the same mom and dad. And then he came out of prison, went back in prison. So it was like this crazy traumatic time. And we lost a lot of what we had, our home, our cars. My mom did everything she could to keep me and my sister going here in Killingworth, which is a whole nother thing. But we did. But my self-esteem was crippled. I felt completely worthless. And, she got remarried and married this incredible man who was an amazing father figure. But my wounds weren't healed yet when he came into place. And then you add in three stepsisters, and then they had another baby. So one of the stepsisters was my age, and now we're all sisters. We don't look step or whatever, but for girls, right, there's this natural competition. Anyways, it's an unfortunate thing, but women are very competitive. And so you add two sisters at the same age, one who does very well in school, one who doesn't do well in school. And so I struggled with who I was, always felt less than for the majority of my life. And then I had my daughter at 21. And I remember looking at her and I was so scared, so scared at 21 to have a little girl, but I just wanted better for her. And I wanted her to have the confidence that I never had. And it was because of having a kid at 21 that I had to make the choice to no longer feel insecure. And it was a lot of tangible steps, a lot of hard work going into healing myself. And so as that was happening and watching my sisters, right, I have 5 younger sisters who are always looking up to me. I'm the leader. And so when I wasn't doing good, that trickles down to them. And what kind of example was I, right? Like if I'm struggling and I'm not feeling confident.
It's a lot of pressure too to be looked on. I mean, but it is like, even if you don't want it, it's there, right?
It was there. And I had that on my own, because if I'm not an example to them, what is it going to do, right?
Can I ask when your father got arrested, you said that you felt worthless. Why? Why did that affect you in that way?
I think for me, what got me the most is people weren't very nice when it happened. It was a very public arrest. We had our home. We lived in a really, really nice home. We had really nice cars, and that was all taken away from us. We had to move in with family friends, and people weren't nice. People weren't nice. And being 8 and 10 years old and having a little sister, I felt like I had to defend her a lot and take care of her a lot. And I got a lot of the smack talk for it, and then when he went the second time, him not coming back to have a relationship with us and just leaving, that was until a couple of years ago when I actually found him. That was difficult, like he left and he didn't want to know who we were. He didn't want to have a relationship with us. And now having kids, I can't even.
Yeah, you can't imagine.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. So it hit me really hard when I was 21. I must have sucked as a kid. For my own father not to want to come back, I'm not good enough for my own dad. That was like the narrative in my head my entire teenage years and my early adulthood. It wasn't honestly until 4 years ago that I finally can say now, I feel sorry for him. I wish him well. He missed out on
best years.
Great opportunity, great years. But I have no ill feelings. I truly wish him the best. It's just that left me feeling very worthless. Very, very worthless. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a lot.
Yeah. So that was tough. And then having the 5 younger sisters and the pressure to show up, and I struggled.
May I ask if you did you go to therapy?
Oh, a lot of therapy.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a lot of self-work. Sometimes people are very independent in their.
A lot of therapy.
Yeah, we
I
are
actually
very
still am in therapy, even though,
big
quote
time
unquote,
therapy.
healed from. There's no healing, right? I truly believe in constantly like
it's a journey.
It's a journey, and I continue to go to therapy because I always want to be the best version of myself, and there's always going to be things in my life that come up, and I think that maintaining a healthy mindset is way better than going back when there's a crisis. And so for me, it's like, that's why I do my gratitude journal every morning. That's why I take the time to write, my goals, look back on what I'm working, like all of that, because like I can't pour into others and I can't help other women feel confident and other women see their power if I don't feel confident, if I feel insecure.
It's disingenuous.
It's very fake. And I am very much about authenticity. Like it's something that like, I'm okay that people know that I struggled. I'm okay with people knowing that my father went to prison. I'm okay with the fact that I struggled the majority of my life. I share that. My husband and I went through a separation. Like we got back together. Now we're like each other's champions and encouragers. But I'm happy to share all of that because it brought me to this point, and I share it because I remember when I felt like I was less than, and I was like, I will never have that. I never thought that Nikki Estephan, who's sitting here today, would be here. Never. Dreamed of it, hoped for it,
but you didn't
prayed
see
for
it.
it, but I didn't see it. I never saw it. I could not see, and there were some dark times in my life where I just was like, I don't know if I can keep going. I didn't see. And had I given up, and had there not been a few key people to love on me, to pour into me, I'm going to be that person for other women. I refuse. No, but it's true. Because I refuse for other girls and other women to not take the leap, whatever it is, because of their insecurities. Because I truly believe I would be in a different point in my life had I not allowed all those fears to take over.
Yeah. No, it's
When
so.
did we start keeping tissues over here?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Zach, give me a tissue.
No, it's so important to really like cheer people on. I almost don't like how cliche that saying is, like, be kind because you never know what someone else is going through.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but it's also so true.
So true.
It's the
But I get accused of toxic positivity all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I've said it too.
Yeah. But I do it from such a place of like, I don't know how your day is going.
Yeah.
Let me just lob this joyful missile at you, and who knows? And like
you are disingenuous about it, though. I will say that.
That's
Like,
the
no,
thing.
you as a person, you actually genuinely mean
And
what
that's the
you're
thing is that
saying or what meme you're sending or whatever.
Everyone in this room has been on the receiving end of like when I'm just like, hey, just want you to know,
I'm so
you're the light of my life. And I truly, I mean it so much.
Yeah.
And because I'm hearing your story, I'm identifying so much with. I come from I have 9 siblings.
Yep.
And most of my life, I was just like, there's nothing special about being a person. I'm one of. I'm Emily's brother.
Yeah.
I'm a Bandiver kid. I'm Tom's kid. I'm Becca's older brother. I'm this. And then I went to college and I was Matt Bandiver.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And then 6 weeks in, I get a call from my mom. Your sister's transferring to your school.
Right.
I was like, God damn it. So I had 6 weeks where I knew what it was like to be an individual. And I was just like, oh my God, this is an insane feeling.
Yeah.
And that was so crucial. And I didn't know what that feeling was. And it didn't come up till years later. But then I started to really dive deep. And only in the last 2 or 3 years, I found this piece about myself, looking at why I struggle so much with romantic relationships. I started to realize that being adopted, I saw what a parent's love should be, loving your kid unconditionally, and then having that be so easily or quickly replaced. Like I was put up for adoption at so young. I didn't even have a personality yet. I was 4 months old and it was just like, yep, on like pass this kid on. And I think maybe for one kid, all right, circumstances may be what they are. I don't know my mom's circumstances to have given me up at 4 months. But then to see it happen 4 more times to my other siblings who were adopted, and I got so, I realized now that to me, love is so replaceable. And that thing that we all know as human beings, a parent's unconditional love. I watched it firsthand. It get given up and replaced.
Yeah. And it's hard when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like finding that out about myself. And I was just like, that makes so much sense. Because then what it did is turned into me being this bigger than life personality. Because if I'm such a big part of your life,
then you
won't get rid of me.
Yep.
And it turned into alcoholism. It turned into all these toxic traits.
Yeah.
I was like, if I overshare so much, you'll feel connected.
You can't get away.
You can't get away from me.
Yep.
And I realized in the last 3 years that was a huge part of me. And it was like how wild just that childhood and being one of a pack. And I'm sure only children have their own thing.
Oh, of course.
But I know that just that being one of a pack, what it does, that ripple effect. I was just like, God, I have so many siblings and my siblings are all individuals, but they're not. We're all part of this thing.
Yeah.
And that's great. But like, where's my story?
Yeah.
And that, I think it goes to show why you and I are both in this industry of just like, your story. I'm going to put you on the biggest pedestal you've ever been on. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
And I know you do too.
Yeah.
And I know Melissa does also, like with what she does with her brides.
Yeah.
Like, we live in such service to our clients.
Oh, yes.
And the last thing we do is hem their dress, sell them clothes, or take pictures
the
of
actual
them.
tangible thing
it's
that
like-
we're doing.
And that's the
laugh.
piece that people don't understand unless
Unless you've seen it
they've
first, like
either experienced it, right? Or you're in this in this realm. Because like when it comes to, I say this all the time, and I'm working on my 2024 recap, and I look at all the women that I've had the privilege of capturing this year, and it's just like, it's incredible. Like, and it's so amazing, but each one their brand is so different. And each one came with a different struggle or a different insecurity or a different need. Now, don't get me wrong, almost everyone always feels like, I'm not confident behind the camera. I totally get that. But like the insecurities as themselves, am I good enough? Do I deserve a spot at this table? Who am I to be there? Who am I to be investing in myself? And it's like, we all feel like that for some way or reason, like no matter what our history was, whether we were adopted, whether our father went to prison, whether we had the quote unquote perfect childhood, right? Like I have a few business friends who, in my opinion, their childhood was perfect. And they still have insecurities. So it's like, you don't know. I love what you said, though. I don't think it's cringy. It's actually something that I say all the time. Whenever someone's not kind to my kids or not kind to me, the first thing I say to them is, you don't need to tolerate disrespect, but I want you to pause and think for a second, like, why was this person that angry today? What could they possibly be going through? And if we pause and we lean into our empathy side, it takes a lot away from us. Sends it back to them. Go love on them a little bit more. Not saying you have to take, I'm not sitting here and saying take disrespect and abuse and all of that. No. One has nothing to do with the other.
The best example I ever heard was in a psychology class. My professor was talking about the other car syndrome, is what he called it. And he was like, you're driving and you're driving along and you spill a little coffee and you swerve a bit. Oh my God, you feel bad. But if you're driving and the car in front of you swerves, oh, what an asshole. That person sucks.
This guy's an
So it's like
idiot.
how different those roles are. And I'm like that framework. And then the other driving metaphor I always love is like how much people get angry that the other person doesn't know what they want. And I always equate it to when you're trying to merge lanes, but your blinker's not on. You know? It's like, I see it firsthand, literally with my siblings. My brother and sister have the worst road rage. And I'm like, your blinker's not on. Like, Jesus. And they're like, this, oh my God. And I'm like, put your blinker on. And it's the same thing with communication.
Oh my gosh,
With your kids, with your parents, with your friends, with anybody else. It's like you have to say what you want.
Right.
It's true.
But the same thing.
Guess.
Think about what the other person's going through, because you've been in that same exact position, but also use communication. Those two metaphors have literally gotten me through life in general, and just leading with empathy of just
and it's like, especially in business, right? Especially when we go back to like, there's multiple people in each niche and like all of this. And so like you said, you Bards, and then you have these other great companies that are similar to what you're doing, but they're not you. And so like just remembering that, like going back to that, it's not, they're doing one thing, you're doing another. Horse blinders is my favorite thing. I'm always like,
different for
put on
everyone.
your horse blinders. I love horse blinders, but like, that's my thing. Like, put them on. Who cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter. What they're doing has nothing to do with you.
It does.
I always find too, and I think we might have talked about this at some point, even just privately, that like at the end of the day, when I start feeling, whether it's a sense of insecurity or I'm looking at other people and I start to feel like jealousy or something that's robbing me of my joy, I will put those blinders on and always remember like, I'm just good at what I do and I'm good at being me.
Yeah.
Nobody else can do that.
No.
So when I kind of like reset the focus, I kind of dial it back in to who I am, what I provide, how I provide it. And then I just let everything quiet around me. Do you know what I mean? It quiets all the noise. It quiets all the weird, maybe sense of insecurity or sense of feeling less than or any of that stuff. It kind of 100%. But it happens to all of us. Like, I feel like I'm at a point now, I will be 40 next year. God help me. But I do feel I'm at the point where I am more confident than ever. I feel better than ever about like both my personal life, my professional life. And that doesn't mean I don't struggle. That doesn't mean there aren't bouts of depression or issues or things that arise. But at the core of it, I feel like this is where I'm meant to be.
Oh my God,
I see some of my like general path forward in my future. I feel great about kids, husband, friends, business, all the things. And I feel amazing. But I also then look back at where did we come from? And I can see in younger people or people who are getting into business for the first time or having these experiences now where they're like finding that sense of self, that sense of confidence, that sense of their purpose. And it's actually like cool to watch and to be a little bit on the other side of it. And I think that you do that so brilliantly. That's literally the core of your business is to be like, I was where you are. We might not be in the same exact industry, but I was there. I had those struggles. My struggles were a little different, but my feeling about it was the same. And you're going to get through it. And you deserve to feel that confidence. You deserve to feel that sense of professionalism. You deserve to put out what you feel inside or make the outside look great until it becomes your truth.
And the thing is, like, my dad says this to me all the time. He was, because, my sisters or someone else will be like, how did you do it? Like, because they know, like, nothing. And I'm like, I just fake it till you make it. Some people hate that saying. And they're like, well, that makes me, you're not an authority. Then why are people investing in you? Then don't. I know what I offer. I know what my testimonies say. I know how people feel when they leave me. But let me tell you this. Nobody starts off where they end. We all struggle. We all have to climb. We all have to mess up, humble ourselves, and fix it. And those who are saying they haven't, they're lying, period. Because everybody does. And so using that, and again, going back to that, like, where were you? Where was I? Seeing that like connection, I'm gonna encourage that because what do you want this year? What do you want in 2025? It's going to be a brand new year in a few days. What do you want 2025 to look like? You can have it. I'm not saying everything on your list is going to happen. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, everything's perfect.
Or it's going to be easy.
But if you are willing
Yeah.
to grind and hustle and be consistent and grow not only your brand, but also grow personally, like do the work that it takes to believe it. So like fake it till you make it. A big piece of that is your mindset. A
Worship
big piece of
grind.
that is the consistency
Let's
of
be
like,
healthy, man. Okay? Strike a healthy balance.
No, and that's the thing. That's why I tell people, like, I get up every day between 4:30 and 5. I don't set an alarm. My body just wakes up because I trained myself to do that. But I go to bed by 8:30 or 9 every night and I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
So I'm not staying up late at night binging shows. I'm not staying up late at night scrolling Instagram. Like, my phone is in my office when I go to tuck in my first kid. Then I go in to tuck in my second kid. Then I go into the room with my husband. My phone's not a part of any of that. I like watching TV, but I turn it off, like, you know, when we're watching a show together. But I'm taking care of my mindset.
Yeah.
And then my focus is my family, my marriage, and my clients.
Yeah.
Like, I'm grateful for the friends I have, but the friends that I have now in life are business friends. And that was something that I had to wrap my head around a few years ago, that, you know, not everyone gets the entrepreneur lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want it.
And that's fine.
That's huge. That's also a huge part.
I love it.
But you have to
Yeah.
have, but to your point about understanding, you have to have, when you have friends who understand, even if they're not in it, who go, I get it. This is the insane season for you. I'll see you in January.
Yeah.
Like,
But then
I have
that's-
some friends who
you're
are like,
lucky.
I love that we pick
Yes.
back up right where we left off.
Yes.
They don't have hard feelings.
Yeah.
But
That's
there
a
have certainly
gift, though.
been, absolutely, and there have certainly been other people who are like, can you get together? Can you get together? Can you get together? And I think they get tired of asking, and I get it. I don't hold it against them. Like, I would be tired of asking me to get together.
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand that I'm in a different part of my season in life and year in September than I am in January, February.
Yeah.
It's I can't help that. And so I've had to be okay with the sunsetting, we'll call it, of some like deeper relationships that are my friendship to them is not serving them, and that's okay. And if we can come back together, that's cool.
And you may.
And if not,
you
like,
may not.
it's not animosity, it's not hard
Exactly.
feelings. It's just a sense of maturity as we get older,
That's
that
the
friendships are going to kind of come and go, and people are going to be in your life who get you, and you need each other mutually for
100%.
whatever. And I don't mean it like it's a transactional thing,
of course,
but it's an emotional support thing where they get it.
Yeah.
And so I do have a couple of friends who are outside of that business realm who get it, but not, it's very difficult.
It
Not
is, and
everybody does.
it's kind of like a learning curve. And I love how, like, what
Totally.
you said earlier, you're going to be 40 next year, and you're feeling like, you know, you're kind of starting to feel confident, and you're like, this is good. Like, that's, I'm not 100% there yet, and I'm very honest about that when I share things. Like, I am still working on. Like, Matt will send me some things, and he's like, "You are amazing, Mama." And I'm like,
You sent me one this morning. I'm
Thank
like,
you,
this
but
makes
also
you feel awkward.
I'm not that big of a person. I'm just Nikki. Like, I'm me, and that's like, I'm growing it, but I love that I'm able to grow alongside other people now. And like, there's this community that like I've created, and like, even with the monthly coffee chats, like that is something that's hosted at the studio, and it's once a month, and you know, all these women come and get together.
Yeah,
and
let's talk. Like, let's do a quick, because that's actually what I wanted to ask you about.
okay,
Was
yeah.
you've been such a kind of pillar for this idea of branding, and especially with women-owned businesses in our community, and I think that's incredible. But I noticed the shift of you really leaning into that community sense. So now you have like the coffee chats and things. So I want, just for the listener who doesn't know you, who doesn't know anything about you, like, talk a little bit about the community building part and what it is you do and like why you started it.
Yeah. So I have this monthly coffee chat that's hosted at my studio, and I started it back in March. And I was like, I love the community that I have, but there needs to be more authenticity. There needs to be more vulnerability. I see so many women who have been in the business 15 to 20 years. I'm in that gap. And then I see so many women who are coming in either year 1 to year 4. And I see there's a big disconnect. And there is a lot of women feeling like how I felt, right? Where I'm never going to achieve it. I'm never going to get to this spot. Like, that can't be me, right? And looking at all these people who are there. And I'm lucky enough to have personal relationships with some people who've been in business for 10, 15, 20 years, who to everyone else is like, oh my God, they're so successful. They're so perfect. Everything's
they're the peak.
amazing.
Right.
I need to be them. Right. And people will say that to me, and I'm like, I try really hard on social media to like share that my life's not perfect and it's not easy, but it's not always easy to articulate, right? And so with these coffee chats, it was really important to me, one, to have networking, because networking is important, but to sit in a round circle and actually talk, and not with the fluff and the food
no filter, no
raw.
Yeah.
No tea spilling. There's no crap talking in there.
Yeah,
I don't want the gossiping. If someone harmed you in one way, you go and talk to that person on your own, not during this time.
Yeah.
But this is all a community, right? And it's so beautiful to see people who have been in for a long time sharing resources freely with other people, or other people, I'm really struggling with this. And I just want there to be this, I want everyone to see that they can do it. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
Sounds like a safe space for people to
safe.
Share and be, like you said, vulnerable and
but also feel encouraged.
Get some sage advice. And
they're watching people team up too. What was been really cool is like there was a couple girls who came in. It was the June one, and because I didn't do one in July because we were in Belize, and then we came back and had the fall one. And there was a couple people who had teamed up, and now one of them is starting a business, the two of them together, because it wasn't working individually for them, but they've come together.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
You've got this piece, I've got
see
that
this,
piece.
and they connect, and then you see someone,
that. That's
but
so
it's like
cool.
friendships, or people being like, I just moved back here from New York and I didn't have a friend, or I'm coming here from Tennessee and like, I want to start a business, but I'm not quite ready and I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Can I? Yes. And it's these women all encouraging people at different seasons. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
you're the
really
mix of
cool.
it. And you're like, I'm just thinking, look at all these lines you're changing. Like, it doesn't matter what, like, you don't have to be the president to be a big deal.
Right.
You can be yourself and be a huge deal. Like, I don't, not to toot my own horn, but I will put myself in this category of like the three of us. I venture to guess people brag about knowing us.
Ooh,
I would say that there are people who are just like, yeah, I like am close with Nikki. I'm close with Melissa. You know what? I'll remove myself. I hear it firsthand about you guys.
Ooh,
people brag all the time to me about, they're like, oh my God, you know Nikki? You know Melissa?
I mean, someone may have said it to me about you, but
no,
I'm not
never.
gonna tell. I'll never admit it.
People have been like, get me an
We
autograph.
don't need your head to get physically bigger than it already is.
But like
I need to dance more on Instagram then, so people can see how coolness. I really am a dork at heart.
Don't
people.
do it.
That's the point. That's the beauty of it. I think that's something that you and I do very well. Melissa does it also. Is the vulnerability, the showing up as yourself.
Yeah.
Being good doesn't mean being better. Like, good dance, just show up and dance.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, a part of that too is like for people to, don't put so much pressure on perfectionism.
Yeah, like done is better than perfect.
It's so like we don't need to do that.
It makes you a human.
You know?
It makes you a human.
Like, yes, when it comes to like my feed and my brand and what I'm going to do for my clients, you're getting the top-notch service, right? Like, I'm going to make sure that like it's styled to the T.
We're not screwing around
dressed,
here. Yeah,
you're not going to have any crinkles or fluffs. Like, I care about all of that. You're getting the creme de la creme, right? But we're going to have fun.
Yes.
You're going to be able to, if you start off crying, which I would say like 80% of my sessions, Kylie or whoever's on hair and makeup is coming out and because it is powerful. I want you to see yourself and take a moment and pause and realize no matter where you are in your business, this is a moment to celebrate. You are here. Wherever that is, you've made it to this spot. You and like having a business, starting it from scratch, not giving up, that takes so much tenacity. That takes so much work ethic. That takes so much like grit that like some people just can't do it. So pause first, right? And soak that in. And then let's have fun.
Yeah.
Like, and let's get a killer set of photos, but also let's like have fun and have this friendship and have this relationship where when you have that next success or you hit that client that you couldn't wait to, I want to know about it to cheer you on. Yeah. When you finally post that talking reel that you've been stressed about for like weeks, I want to post and comment.
I want to like it and share it.
I want to encourage you because
we were all there. We were all there.
Melissa and I never forget, in your old studio, I walked in whatever, 2022 or something, and I was like, you're never going to catch me doing a reel.
Yeah.
You know?
And now you're like the king of reels.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's
loser.
Just like, whatever.
Liar. I wish you weren't a liar.
Exactly.
It's true, though.
Yeah, you sack lies.
Right?
But like, I think that's so true. You know, you're saying a lot of this great stuff, which I love about like, yes, you got to work for it. You got to do this. I think the other part that I want to contribute and add to that is not everybody wakes up fired up.
Right.
Not everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it on the days
Oh my
you
gosh,
don't
there's
want
so many
to.
days that I
Most
been
days
in
you
bed
won't.
crying. Where I'm
Most
like,
days
I'm
you
done.
don't
I'm
want to
done.
Pay
I
that
suck.
fucking deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it, I love Dana White for saying this. If you can look at yourself and in the mirror and tell yourself you're doing the best you can, you're fucking lying to yourself. It's so true. Be honest.
Yeah.
Are you doing the most you can? Most people are like, I don't have the time. And my God. Yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
Just like, honestly, shut
Well,
up.
we all get to choose.
know?
Like, that's the thing is,
Yes.
I would watching TV in the morning with my feet up. Oh, that sounds that I would also
Right.
enjoy that. I love a good rom-com.
Yes.
But I also love the freedom that I'm creating for myself. I also love that I get to work with women that are in different spots. I love like getting to make the Pinterest boards and the Canva boards and the templates. I love talking with I enjoy it, but there are days where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh
I don't want to
God,
be Nikki.
Yeah.
I said it a couple of weeks ago where I was like, we were in Florida, and my husband's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I'm laying on the hammock. I was like, I'm done being Nikki. And he's like, well, who the heck are you going to be? And I was like, I just want to be like somebody that no one knows for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like I kind of want to just.
But that's the balancing act, right?
Yes.
So while I hear you and I agree with you
I'll
that
say it louder.
No, listen, shut up. Okay? Give everyone else a minute. I agree that I think 90% of being an entrepreneur is getting up and doing the stuff that you didn't want to do on the day you didn't want to do it kind of thing. But at the same time, we also have to find a balance. We have to honor the fact that sometimes there's no gas left in the tank and you have to rest and reset.
That for there's two things, right? And not to, I think it's a little different in this
We're
try,
just gonna
right?
keep shitting on
no,
you,
I'm
Matt.
not going to
No,
shit
I'm
on you. I'm not going to shit on you.
I'll
I'm
shit
just
back.
It's
I'll
fine.
shit back. Give me goddamn
Be on
second.
my side, Nikki.
I have IBDL. I'll
Why?
shit you. Okay, okay. Just let him talk, okay?
What were you going to say?
Yeah.
As for Melissa and I, right? We're moms.
Yep.
That's a big thing. That's a title on its own. We're wives. Big title.
Yep.
And business owners. And so one thing that I like have to have, you know how they say like dig your heels in the sand, that saying, like my heels are in the sand when it comes to my kids and my husband. And so I will go 110% for my clients always, and I will hustle. But when it comes to those three, they come first. And so there's this point where there's a balance, right? And there's also another thing for women. We pour into so much. And so if we don't rest and we don't take the time where we're like, I'm not being Nikki for this period of time, then we can't keep going. And I see so many women burning out and giving up these beautiful businesses and brands that they've created
Because
they're
burnt it too hard from both
and
ends.
you can't. And that's like, so for me, like, I do no weekends, right? Like that's like
Same.
non-negotiable.
This was my first year doing no weekends. It
My
was
first
wild.
year too, and it's wild. Like I still could
Yeah.
cry thinking about that. I worked my whole, retail from 16.
Same.
Worked weekends from 16.
Weekends,
And this
holidays,
is the
nights.
so many. This was the first Thanksgiving that I did not work Black Friday of some sorts. I did no shoots. I did nothing. Before that, it was like working retail or anything. I had to.
I'm at someone else's beck and call.
grind. I have to pay, make money, But you get to a point and you work really, really hard. You can start reorganizing your schedule. And like I have spots where it's like, this is my mom. This is mom time. This is wife time. Like we may not be able to go out for a date again this month because life's crazy, but we're at home, we're playing a card game in bed. Like, you have to schedule out those things because if you don't, you're going to get burnt out. But also it makes when you go back into the work more fun. Like
and your grind
wait.
is that much better and more focused instead of being in 50 places.
Oh, boy.
Time for me to
boy.
open the cheeks.
All right. Oh, Jesus.
All right. So you both follow my personal page.
Yep.
You both know me. What do I enjoy in my spare time?
EDM.
What's EDM?
Music.
Electronic,
okay.
The electronic dance
music.
Okay.
Raves.
And your cat,
I was going to say your cat.
which
and
is on your
Batman.
business page. Too,
I was going to say your
Thank
cat
you.
and Batman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Three things. Three huge things.
Yeah.
Can I do those things if I'm working nonstop? No.
No.
But you know that I love those things
Yep.
as much as clothing.
Yep.
When I say, and when other people say, give it all you got,
Yep.
that's one tank. Then you've got a different tank. That's mom tank.
Yep.
Okay.
Then you've got a different tank.
Okay.
Yep.
That's rest tank.
All right. You
Okay.
didn't say that to
I-
But you
begin
didn't
with.
start
You just had
that
to
with that, so
clarify.
we had to clarify.
Because I
clarify.
just assumed you guys would know.
Well, the listener
You know what
might not
happens
know.
when you assume?
You're saying I didn't have my blinker on? when I
That's out of you and me. That's out of you and me.
Okay, so here's a very
You did
important
not have
thing.
your
Here's a
blinker
very
on.
important thing.
You were not
No.
signaling and saying what you meant.
I think it's so huge because it is very important. We talked about this before, which is why I wrongfully assumed. We talked about life, work-life
harmony.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Not balance.
It's not.
harmony.
Yes.
There isn't a balance. Yeah.
Right. Because it's not completely stop
not
and
level.
go. It's
Right.
got to go.
Right.
Some days you just got to give work, needle and thread, finger and lens. You have to give it 1,000,000%. And there are times where I'm sure you're at a shoot doing something where maybe you're just not giving it everything. Maybe you're sewing and you're taking your time and you
half-assed
check
it.
your
Yeah.
phone.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking
Yes.
about.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Okay.
clarity.
Clarifying.
The
And
listener
then-
thanks you too
and
for your
then-
So
clarity.
basically, you're saying depending on what hat you're wearing for that moment, give it 100%. And that I agree. It's the same.
What you're
where
going
your
to
feet
do
are. That's
is
what
where
you're
you
doing
need to
at
be.
100%.
Yes, we love that.
I love
What
that.
you're going to do, rage all day.
Agree.
That's why.
Okay.
What you're
Is
going to
this
do.
why your feet are here and you are raging
Yes,
right now?
because I get so people just like
I know. You think everyone's looking for an excuse.
they
and I
are
know-
looking
I
for
know.
an excuse.
Well, that's
Like,
why
well,
not
I
every.
can't work all day, so I'm not going to work at all.
That's why
so
not
many
everyone is
people.
a business owner.
But that's what I was just going to say is it's person.
Or that's why
drives
not
me up a
everyone is a
wall.
parent,
But
or why
also,
not
you
everyone
could
is whatever.
want,
Yes.
you could
That's
want
okay.
this life. You could want to be an entrepreneur. That's okay if you want it. But if you're not willing to give it
Work
at all,
for-
that's
right.
okay.
But it's also like it doesn't
don't
just have to be
complain
the
about it.
it
Right.
doesn't
Don't
just
have a
have to
false
be the
expectation.
entrepreneur life. I know plenty of people who work 9 to 5s,
Yeah.
have great salaries, and say I don't have time, even though they work 9 to 5.
That's
they
fair.
come home, they watch
Yeah.
TV,
Right.
But
they
that's
are
a
married.
yeah.
Those are all
they-
choices.
Everyone
Right.
has it. Like we all have
I'm
the same 24 hours in a
That's
day,
what
right?
I'm saying. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're an entrepreneur
No.
or whatever.
Right.
Same thing. Every single aspect of your life
Yeah.
that you've created
You have to put your
deserves-
motivation where your
has-
mouth
has
is.
a
yeah.
0
That's
to
the case.
100.
Correct.
Are you giving it that?
That's
when I
fair.
rest, I
Listen,
rest.
when I wake up, I
know?
brush my teeth like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all
Like that
put
is
on our bra
100%.
one boob at a time.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
When I wear a bra.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
No, but
true
it's
though.
like
I
the
see what
reason-
you're saying.
the
You're
reason-
saying more like whatever you're doing at that
Give it
moment,
100%.
give it
Give it
100%.
100%.
I get it.
With
And
that,
are
I do
you
agree.
doing it 100%? Probably
Yes.
not.
Don't make an
Yes.
excuse.
Yeah.
So like
blah,
when I rest very hard. Like I wake up at 4:30
Yep.
so
Yes,
that at the end of the day I can watch a movie because
Yep.
I know I need that.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up at 4:30 and working till 1.
Yeah.
That's your the nighttime's like your decompression.
Yeah,
That's your
and I
routine.
know
That's your
I need
ritual.
that.
Yeah.
And then
So in
and it
order to
doesn't-
do that,
exactly. Yeah.
I have to get up early.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? And like that's the thing is that I know to give work 100%, this is what I need to do. I need to make a sacrifice and wake up early. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
So
100%.
I think that is so important to get out in the open.
Yeah.
And I thank you both for allowing
throwing
me to
salt at you,
facilitate that.
yeah.
There
I do
you
think,
go.
I do think one thing is very interesting that the listener would probably know is that the origins of this podcast started with a group text of the three
of
of
the
us.
three of us.
Yep.
Yeah. So
The original version
Yep.
of this podcast.
so this is like kismet, like coming,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
coming to fruition. That
yes,
the three of us
this
would
is
be
it.
together.
This is huge.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
Melissa and I, it wasn't even just
and
like
to throw out respect to you though, when we were like, we're gangbusters, we're gonna make a podcast, and you were eventually like, guys, I don't think I can do this. I can't commit.
Yeah.
But like nothing but respect
Yeah.
because
Yes.
you knew your boundaries
Absolutely.
for what you were doing in your life at the
Yep.
time and where your attention and focus needed to be.
Yeah.
yeah.
And honestly, I feel
Yeah.
like how it all came to fruition was better with you two just are synced up in such a way where I feel like this truly was like supposed to happen. I mean that sincerely.
With this.
No, but it's
getting yelled at about work harder.
Yeah. But like your brands,
Right.
like even though there is such differences, they're so like the way they truly weave together.
Right.
Thank you.
It's so seamless.
Are you
They
saying
so
it's all woven
seamless.
together?
You
Are
guys
saying that
woven. You see the words I'm picking
we
there?
are the threads that make up the
Yes.
fabric of America.
Cheesy,
Eric's
but
gonna
it's
hate
true. But it's true. It's true. Like it's very like you guys have done a really cool thing
Yeah, I
that you guys
appreciate
are
that.
doing, and it's been really fun to like watch how you guys have just worked together to grow this. Like I feel like this is I appreciate being here. I appreciate when you guys
You're
had
an
chatted with me on
amazing
that
guest.
text,
Thank
but
you.
I just like it's really cool to watch you two do something that you guys were just meant to do together.
Thank
And you guys are
you.
doing so well.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So well.
Having you here is definitely like such a dream.
come true.
You've been
Yeah.
number one.
Oh my
Of just like we can't wait to get to the point where we can have Nikki on, and we even scheduled you like 2 months ago.
right?
We were like, let's get it out
Which
there.
I really appreciated
Yeah.
the text the other day. I'm like,
I figured.
make sure my
Yeah.
outfit's good.
Yeah, but I think that there's something so beautiful that came out of this conversation is that you give any one of us a short amount of a long enough amount of time, and we will start crying about how passionate we are about what we do. I think that's so beautiful. Is that really? I mean, like each one of us would just. We bear it all for our
Always.
clients in such a great way. It's not in a workaholic type of like, I'm just doing everything and they're taking it all.
No.
Right.
It's because
It's a love and a passion. It's not a It's not a like for a badge or for a medal.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's truly because I
Human
love what
connection.
I do. And I want you to feel like
I want to share that with
like
you.
how
And every human, you are just so lucky. I'm so lucky to be in the presence of you. I'm so lucky to have you by my side. Like that's how I truly feel. Like I'm just like, oh my God, I get to be alive at the same time as you. That's wild.
What were the wild odds,
And
right?
I
Crazy.
am going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get everything I can out of my relationship with you guys. And I'm so fortunate. And anything that I can do to like push you forward, I will, because I believe so fully with all of my being in what you do and what you do, Melissa. I really do. And I think that what the listener got out of this conversation was that we all feel that way about our clients, about the people in our lives, about the community that has held us up. There were times that at the 1 yard line, we wanted to give it up, but somebody said,
somebody else.
I love this reel that you just posted. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we were-
that was
And we
enough.
were like, all right, I'll show up tomorrow.
But that's that's the piece where we like I hope everyone who's listening like remembers that like your voice matters so much. You don't realize that like that comment, that hey, keep going, that cheer, what it does for someone in business. No matter how many followers they have, no matter how far they are, everybody, it still means like people, I hate when people are like, oh, but you have this many people who follow you, so it doesn't matter. Like are you kidding me? You're my friend.
Yeah.
It matters more.
Imagine if 20 people gave you a compliment on the street
In real
one day.
life. I would die.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I would pass away.
I'd be passed out from
Yes.
humiliation.
But
Like
I can't believe we have to do this, but we have to end.
I
this.
know. So rude.
I know. I hate it.
we'll
this
meet
is why
again.
we should have had the podcast with 3 of us. So we
We
just
could go
keep
on
talking.
forever.
Yes. But we'll
do it part
We
two.
just talk so
We'll do
much.
it, Nikki part 2.
Well, no,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the next week we'll see. Nikki, I love you. Thank you so
thank you
much.
guys. This
Thank
was
you.
amazing.
This
Thank you
really-
for
Really
having
great.
me.
This was such a great way.
You guys are incredible, and just honestly keep shining light on the community. Keep being the amazing people that you are. Truly, like the friendship that you guys have, the business relationship, it's inspiring. And I think it's really special what you guys are doing. So thank you.
We're going to throw those compliments right back at you because you do the same thing in the realm. So that's definitely why we're all friends.
One day I'm going to get a wig and come to the coffee chat. And you're like, yes, I'm here. But thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another episode of The Fabric of America.